already laid out the case for calling this spill Cheney's Katrina after almost a decade of handing over the country bit by bit to big oil. But on our third story tonight, his daughter now says not only are his hands clean, so are those of his company. From almost day one, progressive commentators on this NewsHour and elsewhere have acknowledged the Obama administration's role in failing to prevent the Deepwater Horizon spill to occur in the first place. Commentators on the right, however, have been unable to concede even a drop of Bush-Cheney culpability. Watch what happens when Arianna Huffington objects to Liz Cheney's suggestion that this is solely President Obama's fault. Ms. Cheney apparently utterly oblivious to the irony of denying her father's cronyism, despite the fact she's on TV only because of her employment history, which is working for him.
We have got now a catastrophe on the Gulf Coast, a catastrophe that happened on this administration's watch, which this administration is failing to clean up and be responsive and lead, frankly. And it is a problem we're seeing with this president across the board, a president with no leadership experience.
We have the poster child of Bush-Cheney crony capitalism, Halliburton, involved in this, and we haven't said about that. They, after all, were responsible for cementing the well. Here is Halliburton. After it defrauded the American taxpayer hundreds of millions of dollars.
I don't know what planet you live on, but that's
I'm living on this planet. You are living in a planet that is
what you're saying has no relationship to the truth.
It is completely. Halliburton was involved in this. How can you say it has no relationship?
Halliburton was cementing the pipe.
How can you say it has no relationship?
Her assertion that Halliburton defrauded the U.S. government, that there was Bush-Cheney cronyism, these are the left
millions of dollars in Iraq.
This is absolutely not true. It is absolutely not true.
Okay, I'm so glad PolitiFact is going to be checking this. I'm so glad.
Liz Cheney is a stone-cold liar. At least last check, rather, PolitiFact had not yet checked it. Media Matters think Progress have, as have we. Ms. Huffington was being polite. Of course, the company run for years by Dick Cheney and now by his protege is up to its cement casings in this spill. Even the Bush-Cheney Minerals Management Service blames 18 out of 39 offshore blowouts since 1996 on bad cementing, just one of the many fine services offered by Halliburton, which also did the cementing, which is also being blamed for this 2009 spill off the Australian coast. But defraud the U.S. government for hundreds of millions of dollars in Iraq? Sorry, Arianna, but no. It was billions of dollars in Iraq and Afghanistan. According to Think Progress, in 2007, federal auditors testified that Halliburton charged U.S. taxpayers $2.7 billion in overpriced contracts or undocumented costs. And there are the employees of Halliburton subsidiary KBR, who actually pleaded guilty to fraud, theft, taking kickbacks, etc. The Department of Justice, just this April, suing KBR for, quote, improper costs in Iraq. Ms. Huffington, polite enough not to mention exposing our troops to toxic substances or the alleged rape cover-up or the death by electrocution of soldiers, including Staff Sergeant Ryan Maseth, in showers that were supposed to be maintained by KBR. One Army investigator blaming KBR for, quote, negligent homicide. At this point, let's turn to David Corn, the Washington bureau chief for Mother Jones magazine and a columnist for PoliticsDaily.com. Good evening, David.
Good evening, Keith.
Well, Liz Cheney, whose political career has revolved around working directly for him or doing jobs she got in his administration, denies that the administration her father was central to was one of cronyism. It is, or I guess it's weird, isn't it, that she didn't say, now nepotism, that's a different story.
Well, we all know that conservatives hate affirmative action unless it involves hiring their own children.
The reality, of course, here is that MMS, the Minerals Management Service, was packed to the gills with cronies of Dick Cheney. His former intern, and I mean, that sounds like, well, this is hyperbole. Literally, his former intern signed off on the report on which the Obama administration relied to grant the waiver that permitted Deepwater Horizon to start up. I mean, it's stupid, it's inexcusable of the Obama administration, no doubt, to let that happen. But how can any rational observer argue that the Bush-Cheney administration was not run by, and run for big oil?
Keith, may I answer your question with a dramatic reading from the Bush-Cheney Energy Task Force report? Thinking, this is Chapter 5, Section 5. The title is great. It's called The Key to Environmental Protection and New Energy Production, 21st Century Technology. They say, this is Dick Cheney in his report talking, advanced, more energy-efficient drilling and production methods practically eliminate spills from offshore platforms. And it goes on to say, examples of advanced technology include deep water drilling technology that enables exploration and production of oil and gas at depths over 2 miles beneath the ocean's surface. I mean, right there, this report asks for more economic incentives for drilling of this type. And that, you know, maybe Liz Cheney hasn't gotten around in the last 9 years to reading her father's report.
Well, clearly her father's report indicates, from that excellent dramatic reading, that there is no oil spill because this couldn't have happened, because they had the technology, because it's the 21st century. But I want to in turn read to you from the minutes of the 2001 meeting of the Cheney Task Force, the Oil and Gas Task Force at the White House. And they say, what do you know? There are no minutes. We didn't see this as part of the clip from ABC yesterday, but Ariana very clearly said, yes, the Obama administration shares the blame here. Why is it impossible for Liz Cheney or anybody else to the right, and many in the middle, for any of them to not do the same about the previous administration?
It's not in her DNA. Quite literally. I mean, would you bring on Chelsea Clinton, who I'm sure is a fine person, to give an analysis of what went on during her father's administration? I mean, Liz Cheney's mission in life seems to be to defend her dad, even more so than President Bush, from all accusations. And I guess a question I'd like to put to her is, in 8 years, in 8 long years, did the Bush-Cheney crew do anything wrong? Did they make any mistake? I wonder what she would say to that.
They hired her. David Corn of Mother Jones, as we trade up setup lines back and forth. Great, thanks, David.
Thank you, Keith.